channel after news channel after news channel. Ever wonder why they report the same news? This is Wake Up America.
Brought to you by Citizen Stringer.
The media has become absolute lunacy. What makes us different? We just tell the truth. Daily headlines, politics, social issues, focusing on headlines that the mainstream media ignores. Conservative to the core and honest, sometimes to a fault. Unapologetically American. Welcome to Wake Up America with your host, Stephen Oatley.
What's up? How you guys doing? It's an early show today. This is going to be the only show I do because my wife has parent-teacher things tonight, so I'm going to be with the boys, and I decided, well, I was going to record segments and stuff, and I just didn't feel like doing it. I did do one, which I am going to air here in a minute, and it's one that you all got to see. It's I got the receipts, and any of you guys that may be fans of Sean Hannity, you may not be anymore, and then the video will release on social media after, because it's kind of annoying what happened last night, and we'll talk about that. This show is sponsored by Spartan Armor Systems, a Tucson, Arizona-based body armor manufacturer. They make some incredible gear, hats, shirts. Level up to level 4 ceramic is their new one. They also have the Ghost Package shirt, which I really like. It's a super concealable, light breathable T-shirt with places to put in the soft malleable plates. They got a bunch of stuff. Check them out. SpartanArmorSystems.com. Use code YEET. That is YEET, and you get 10% off your order. It's a hell of a 5% off your order. It's a hell of a deal. This is actually one of their shirts. Really comfy. I have 2 of them. They sent me 2 of the same color shirt, so I don't wear them much. Actually, I think I threw one away. I think I used it as a rag. Because I'm not going to have 2 of the same color shirts unless it's like a Wake Up America shirt. Anyway, man, oh man, last night on Sean Hannity, I got to say, he really upset me. And I'm going to play this little short thing. It's like 10 minutes, but it's got the clip from Sean Hannity, and it's got all the receipts. So check this out. Well, we know politics are weird, right? It's a divisive time. Republicans turn against Republicans. Newscasters do their best to stay neutral, unless your name is Sean Hannity. Last night on Sean Hannity's show, he launched into a full-on attack on senatorial candidate, I don't even know if that's how you say it, Kathy Barnett. She's running against Dr. Oz and another conservative that I don't care to name because I don't know who it is. Dr. Oz is currently leading by 3 points in the polls. But yesterday on Sean Hannity's show, he launched into, like I said, a full attack on this woman using old tweets, calling her a racist, or saying she had, racial things in the background. She's African American, by the way. Saying that she's homophobic, even though wasn't he fired from a radio station for homophobic comments? A lot of just weird, double negative stuff, saying that, she shouldn't be elected because she said Obama was a Muslim, although he had guests on the Sean Hannity show over and over and over that were promoting books saying just the same thing. It's really odd. So I'm going to play a couple of clips during this, and I want you to pay attention. So here is his attack last night on Kathy Barnett.
Primary season, she tweeted, there's a lot of tweets, quote, "Did you see the last presidential debate? Trump was horrid." Followed up that with, "Trump is just as liberal as Democratic leaders we currently have in office. Morality matters, and Trump does not rank high in it." She also wrote, "Trump is good for beers and barbecue, not as a president," and claimed that Trump's moral character is questionable. And by the way, she even tweeted this about me, and there's me, and says, Glenn Beck, why does Hannity support unprincipled Donald Trump? And it gets worse. More resurfaced tweets are even more disturbing. One from her Twitter account in 2016 reads, quote, "Don't we get it? Obama is a Muslim." And there are lots of these tweets. From another 2013, she says, "Please pray for my babies and me. We're about to board the plane to California." And there's a homosexual female and linking out to a Facebook post. Moments ago, one of our producers spoke to Kathy Barnett. She claims she cannot recall the context of the tweet about Obama or any of the other controversial quotes. And when we asked her about the tweet about boarding the plane, she said to our producer, quote, "I would never say that. Those are not my words." I don't know if she's claiming that her Twitter account was hacked, but it's on her official Twitter account. So with only 6 days left in this campaign, there are serious, real, open questions about the surging Kathy Barnett campaign and where she truly stands on issues. And
now, I played it in its entirety because I wanted you to be able to hear it. Obviously, you could tell he's pretty impassioned. He was, raising a lot of questions, as he kept saying. But it caused me, like, when I was listening to that, I was like, okay, we're missing something. Something here is missing, and I want to find out what it was, right? So I started looking into Sean Hannity and Kathy Barnett. And then it turns out, do you know Sean Hannity interviewed her in June of 2021 about a race? And at that point, he seemed very happy with her in her campaign. This is before Dr. Oz even announced that he was going to run. Listen to how he introduced her on his radio show.
Kathy Barnett is with us, candidate for the U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania, who I've become very fond of, and I'm very supportive of her efforts there. Thank you both for being with us.
Now, there's a lot of weird things. As I mentioned, he criticized in his clip last night on Fox News, he criticized Kathy Barnett for her comments about Obama being a Muslim, which I thought was really odd. Obama himself had Freudian slips while he was speaking to, who was it? I forgot. While he was speaking to the 60 Minutes guy or something like that, Chris Wallace, or whoever the hell it was. I don't remember. But here, watch.
I want to throw to another tape here because Barack Obama was on with George Stephanopoulos this week, and among the many things he said, he's accusing Republicans and commentators suggesting that he is a Muslim, and particularly he singles out Fox News, which I think we edited out of this here, and then himself, he uses the phrase, "my Muslim faith," and that has been talked about a lot. Let's roll this tape.
Let's not play games. What I was suggesting, you're absolutely right that John McCain has not talked about my Muslim faith, and you're absolutely right that has not
Christian
come
faith.
My Christian faith. And well, what I'm saying is he hasn't suggested that I'm a Muslim.
All right, Steve, he's saying that there are Republicans and campaign people, they throw...
Had to literally be corrected by the host of the show because he said he was Muslim, his Muslim faith, which, you could call it a slip or whatever, but that raised a lot of questions. It raised a lot of questions with journalists, and it raised a lot of questions of people that questioned, Obama in general. One of those people was Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity actually covered that on his show, giving that ideology a platform, right? And now he's attacking Kathy Barnett. It's very odd. Some of the other stuff, like he said, we heard the little bit about her, saying, "Pray for me, I'm getting on an airplane with a homosexual woman," almost criticizing that, saying that she's biased against homosexuals. Again, Sean Hannity, I believe, was fired from a radio station for homophobic comments.
This lady just had a child, do you know how they do that now?
Yeah, isn't turkey baster babies.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
That's also a really disgusting remark.
I feel sorry for your child, but do you want to make any more comments?
He was suspended and sacked, removed from his radio show. At that point, he did something very un-Sean Hannity. He called the ACLU and asked for help.
I mean, this is he went deep in an attempt to tarnish her 6 days, now 5 days before the primaries in Pennsylvania. Now, what's even more interesting than that is he didn't just stop after his little 2-minute diatribe in his attacks on her. What he did then is he brings on someone who he has personally endorsed, someone who he says he personally vetted, Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, for anyone that doesn't realize, is, in my opinion, not a conservative. Dr. Oz has his own set of baggage. Watch some of these clips about Dr. Oz and tell me who aligns more with the conservative values.
The average person is envisaging a little acorn heart beating in there. That's not what's going on.
I would never think of harming that child, or even 9 months earlier, because life starts at conception. The decision to let your child live as the other sex, even alter their body. What does it mean to be a boy? What does it mean to be a girl? That's how every transgender child feels. Just to get past the hassle of having to lie on my back?
No, I'm not getting the vaccine, Dr. Oz. I'm not.
If you want to march, go march. Build bonds there. Well, it's valid to support the cause.
I really don't know what else to say in regards to all this. I think a lot of people, especially if you live in Pennsylvania, I'm glad I don't live in Pennsylvania, so I don't have to cast a vote. I know Dr. has a Trump endorsement. Hooray for him. Dr. Oz, not Dr. Az. I know Dr. Oz has a Trump endorsement for his Senate race against these other candidates. Maybe that'll give him the boost. He's currently leading in the polls. We're going to have to wait and see. But I would honestly, if I lived in Pennsylvania, I would be looking very, very, very hard at who I'm going to vote for, because I'll be honest, any so-called journalist, anyone who says, 33 years of journalism experience, anyone who goes this hard to simp for a political candidate, for lack of better words, it raises some major questions in my head, and that's a question that you guys will just have to figure out on your own, I guess, if you're a Pennsylvania voter. Yeah, so that's something I recorded just a bit ago this morning, obviously, and I didn't realize how bad of an editing job I did on that, to be honest. I did it really fast. I should have did better, because what I did is I just talked about it and then tried to cut it up, and it was really bad. So I'm gonna really have to make those better. But I don't know. I was thinking about it this morning, and I'm like, I wonder why Donald Trump endorsed Dr. Oz. Donald Trump, he made a statement at his last rally, right? We all heard it, where he said that if he had to pick a basketball team and he was picking a female basketball team, he would pick like the biggest, strongest guys that identify as women to be a basketball team, because he loves to win. Remember, he said he would call LeBron James and say, have you ever thought about switching genders or something like that? Granted, he was making a joke, but at the same time, Donald Trump likes winning. Maybe he just simply knows the demographic. He's got all his political people in his ear, and maybe he, reached out to Dr. Oz and was like, "Hey, we'll throw this endorsement, but don't screw me over." But there's so many questions there. There's just the coordinated attacks on Kathy Barnett yesterday just don't make any sense. You have like rhinos or people that call themselves someone made a good point. Someone's like, they're not conservatives, they're Republicans, and I agree with you. I think a lot of the people that are attacking Kathy Barnett, I think Sean Hannity and some of the other people that are attacking her are doing it because they align with this Republican ideology. They're not. I mean, Sean Hannity could be a huge Trump supporter. There's all the questions about the J6, emails and messages back and forth, telling Trump not to talk about the election and all that stuff too. I don't know. I lost a lot of respect for Sean Hannity yesterday, because there are ways. You see how I do the interviews with the political candidates that we've had on over the past couple of weeks. There are ways of not totally being on the butthole of the person that you personally support, and I just thought what happened, what Sean Hannity did yesterday read to me like an attack. It was like in opposition. So I'm wondering if Sean Hannity, I mean, this may be a stretch, was he paid? Like I really just I don't know. It's very, very weird to me how that's and there was a coordinated attack. Richard Grenwall, Sean Parnell, they all were attacking this woman yesterday. Sean Parnell, who is also from Pennsylvania, he had a Senate campaign and something happened with his family. He ended up withdrawn from the race, and he threw his support behind someone else. I don't know if it's Dr. Oz or the other guy, but he threw his support behind somebody else. But he was questioning her military service yesterday. She was in the National Guard for 10 years. He requested her a DD-214. She's not issued one. She was never active. So instead, she's issued the National Guard equivalent. I forgot what it's called. It's a different form though. And he was questioning whether or not she even served. And then he tried to say, well, because she was in the National Guard, that she isn't Army, even though she said she was, like, really weird stuff. Because he's like, I was Army. Someone that's in the National Guard isn't in the Army. They're in the National Guard. I have friends and family that were in National Guard, and they do, what ends up happening is when they go active, when they're taken off active and put back on guard status, they're issued a DD-214. I have a family member that has like 6 or 7 DD-214s from every time he was placed active to go deploy and then come back. So It's weird, and I caution all of you guys that are Pennsylvania voters. Like this is an attack on someone, and why? Why is it an attack on her? You heard Dr. Oz yesterday say something like she was in support of putting up a statue or a bust of Obama or George Floyd or some shit like that, which is patently false. There's clips going around on social media. I shared the actual full interview this morning, but there's clips going on where she was talking about George Floyd. And again, I can't relate at all. George Floyd was a drug abuser, and he put a gun to a pregnant lady's belly. Should he have died at the hands of police? No, absolutely not. Should he have died while in custody? No, probably not. He shouldn't have. But we have different views. There's clips that are being edited, of what she's saying, talking about her concerns as a black woman living in America, raising a black child with a black husband. And those are concerns that I can't relate to. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't get worried about getting pulled over if I'm doing something wrong. And I know some black people don't. But like I always said when we were talking about the riots and the protests in 2020, I have a friend that was on the fire department, a black dude that grew up in New York City, and he told me he's petrified of cops, and he works next to him every day. He's a paramedic and firefighter. He works next to him every day. He said, just growing up, that's how they were. They were petrified as cops, petrified of getting pulled over. It's a different thing. I can't relate to it at all, and it gave me a different viewpoint on it. But what they're doing now is they're selectively editing, like they used to do with Donald Trump with anytime he spoke. They're taking things that she said in certain contexts and taking them out of context and putting them out as if saying she supports Black Lives Matter. She's on the record of not supporting Black Lives Matter. She's on the record of condemning the BLM riots, that the protests that turned into riots. She did say she would go out and march in the memory of George Floyd. But she said they were rioting. It wasn't about Black lives, and they cut that part of the interview out to try to skew the way of thinking, and it's sad. I don't think we should be doing that yet. Especially to other people that are running to make America better. Another argument that someone said, I think it was Sean Hannity, or actually, you know who it was? It was Oz. Because after Sean Hannity's 5-minute diatribe about how awful she is and he doesn't trust her, which again conflicts based on the interview he did with her 9 months ago, where he's like, "Oh, I really support you." And so it's really weird to have a dramatic shift and act like he doesn't know who she is because he was on the show, or she was on his show months before. But it was weird. The other thing that kind of threw me off a little bit is when he said, or Dr. Oz, I forgot who it was, but one of the two boneheads there said that she in a debate, she said that Trump didn't create MAGA, that was the people creating MAGA. I agree with that. I agree with that. I think Trump is a figurehead of MAGA, and he made it great, so everyone pays attention to it. But I think people are the ones that wanted America to be great again, which is why Trump was elected, which is why all these political candidates are there. Trump wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for MAGA. So when she says we are MAGA, she is 100% correct. She is 100% correct, and I think anyone who challenges that is foolish because, well, I mean, yes, he is the figurehead of it, but I mean, without us, without people that cast those votes, it wouldn't have mattered, And so I think, guys, you got to realize too, if we're having so much dirt come out about political candidates in primaries, imagine what the general election is going to be. Sean Hannity, he let out all the information about her that we showed in that video, and then he took it a step further and said, I never vetted her before. I vetted Dr. Oz. I've been friends with Dr. Oz. I sat down. We had a long conversation. He fully endorsed Dr. Oz in that video. But he also cautioned, and he said, listen, even if she wins the primary, if she goes in and you vote for her to win the primary, she will lose the general election. He essentially condemned her, based on that, which I just thought was very, it lacked class. When I watched it last night, listened to it last night when I was driving home, I was really surprised. I'll be honest, I was really surprised. And then I paid attention, and then I got on Twitter this morning and I'm like, oh shit, so is America. America was really surprised at this woman that was rising in the polls, basically, on her own. She's got some big money, behind her, but she's rising on the polls essentially on her own. And now Dr. Oz and all these other people are all freaking out because the candidate that they endorsed. Maybe Sean Hannity is throwing his support behind Dr. Oz so hard. Maybe that segment yesterday was some sort of last thing for Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, obviously the dude loves to win. Here's my honest opinion, because there's been so much confusion about why Donald Trump would even back Dr. Oz in this whole thing, because Dr. Oz is such he's not maybe he's the new definition of what a Republican is, and maybe that's one of the reasons why I no longer identify as a Republican. I would go as far to say he's not a conservative either, based on his prior beliefs and public statements, like things that can't even be disputed. His comments about COVID, his comments about LGBTQ, transgender sex changes, comments about protests, his comments about war, his comments about China. Some of this stuff just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and to justify calling him a Republican. He's certainly not America first. I don't care. And I'll be honest, yesterday we had Merritt Hale that was on the show. Even though he said he's America first, I don't believe so, because I think if you agree to send money, United States taxpayer dollars, when we have crises here, like we have the food shortage, almost a diesel fuel shortage, we have a border crisis, we have homeless crisis, we have an opium crisis. More people died of opium overdoses last year than ever before. 102,000 people, which is more than 2020 when we had a spike in it because everyone was locked up with COVID and overdosing in their homes. It's absolutely crazy. So I don't think you're America first if you voted, and that goes with Ben Klein and anybody else that signed their name yesterday to that Ukraine spending bill, the $40 billion or whatever it was that they did. I don't think, maybe that's the new Republican. Maybe conservatives are different, because it's just weird, man. And I caution anybody that is in Pennsylvania or any of these hot button states to really, really, really think before you vote. Don't just vote because Donald Trump endorsed someone. Please don't, because in all reality, Donald Trump loves to win. We all know that. Donald Trump is whatever. Him in office was great, in my humble opinion. And him being president of the United States and taking the reins of our country and leading it in a good direction was great. But he's not like God, okay? He's not like better than, and every decision he makes in life isn't like gold. It's not, you know what I mean? So and I firmly believe the reason why he backed Dr. Oz, and this may conflict with somebody, your guys' view. My firm belief on why Donald Trump endorsed Dr. Oz was because he felt like Dr. Oz had a better chance of winning over the hearts of Democrats, therefore getting elected. And he wanted that win on his belt. That's my firm belief, because there's no other reason why you could do it. You can say Sean Hannity yesterday, he attacked her because she had questions about Donald Trump before he was when he was a candidate, when he was running in debates and stuff like that. Because his style of talk, everybody can admit this, his style of talk, his demeanor, yeah, because you'd be in jail, dropping the mic, walking away, that kind of thing doesn't work for everybody. It does for me. I like it. It's speaking like a regular person. But for everybody else, it wasn't. And it can make people not like that person. She was, and here's the thing, she was someone that was outspoken on Twitter about not liking that type of person, right? And she's like, how are people, that was some of the tweets that he showed, how are people supporting, like Glenn Beck, how are you supporting Sean Hannity when Sean Hannity is going to bat, because Glenn Beck wasn't a big Trump supporter either, when it first started. I think he was against Trump. And J.D. Vance, who just won the Ohio primary too, he has the Trump nod. He was a never Trumper. He was a never Trumper in 2016. So to try to use that as ammo, that's how far. And that's when he said that, knowing about J.D. Vance, knowing about Glenn Beck, knowing about, all these people that are getting these nods and are really devout Trump supporters now. I realized that it wasn't a real attack, and it was a real attack that Sean Hannity was doing on Kathy Barnett. But what he was actually doing was he was just trying to throw everything. It's like throwing mud and seeing what sticks, seeing the one thing that is going to catch your eye and be like, well, you know what, I can't vote for her because, well, she did this. I think about it. A lot of the things that she was accused of are the very same things that he was fired from jobs for. The homophobic comments and things like that. So I don't know. I just thought it was in bad taste. Just extremely bad taste yesterday, and I really think that people have to research your candidates. Please, please, please do not just vote along party lines. Do not just vote for MAGA candidates. No, what you need to be doing is voting for who is going to help this country. I'll be honest with you. I don't think there'll ever be a chance in hell that I do it. But if I was faced with, voting red with someone that I fundamentally disagree with and think that they're just a horrible person, like say an incumbent, like Mitch McConnell, right? Say I was supposed to, like, if say I lived there in Kentucky and I had to vote for Mitch McConnell or a Democrat, right? And the Democrat was more, maybe more leaning towards like independent. I would likely, I'll be honest, depending on their policies and depending on their values and depending on what their plan was in Washington, especially, can you imagine if they said, if a Democrat came up and said, yes, we agree to term limits, because you can have pro-choice Democrat or pro-life Democrats, because I think really if people start, actually talking about what abortion and what conservatives are fighting for in terms of abortion legislation versus Democrats, I think a lot of the Democrats and the people on the left could potentially, swing over this way. I think it would be interesting because I can't see myself voting for example, my election right now. Or not my election, but the election in my district right now. Ben Klein is running against Merritt Hale, and there's a couple others that are running for the Republican nod, right? Ben Klein has a history. He's an incumbent, right? He's been in office for a long time, 20 years. But he's been in federal office now since 2018 when he assumed the seat of a congressman who stepped down. He hasn't done anything bad, and I haven't really gone too deep into his voting record, but well, yeah. I mean, he voted yes on that Ukraine package. That alone, with what I stand, I don't want to vote for him. So, you know what I mean? But then again, Merritt Hale yesterday on the interview, he said he would have voted yes on that Ukraine package. So I'm like, well, fuck this dude too. So, you know what I mean? You just have to do your research and figure out the candidates and please, 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 everyone that's watching this, don't just vote down party lines. Don't, because that's how we got into this freaking mess in the first place. That's why we have all these rhinos and fake conservative or Republicans. I won't call them fake conservatives because I think conservatism is a really broad section, right? Because I am a conservative. I used to say I'm a Republican. I was a registered Republican. I'm not anymore. Because I don't align with the people that are currently holding that title in office. They are destroying our country just as much as the Democrats are. They're just going back and forth. We've been watching the Senate and House floors for 2 days, listening to speeches that these people are making and going up there. And all I hear when they're talking is like the dollar signs of how much taxpayer dollars are going to fund them to say the same stuff. I mean, I just saw a Democrat, doing praise to someone else. And I know that's what the period is for. They're getting, special interest money to talk about some little company out in bumfuck Idaho. You know what I mean? Or what? It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Our current political setup right now is bad, but I saw the attacks on Kathy Barnett, or I listened to the attacks, and then I started this morning and I saw some, and it's kind of funny, right? Because Kathy Barnett, I've seen her, I don't even know if I follow her, but I've seen a lot of her comments getting shared out where she's getting attacked by people. They're in her comments, Democrats or people that she's claiming are Democrats are in her comments on social media, calling her the N-word, calling her awful things, right? And And I always was like, well, this is weird. This woman's actually standing up for something. And I didn't know who she was. I'll be honest. I thought she was in Florida. I thought she was running for office and she was in Florida because I never really did, investigated her. Then yesterday I saw Sean Parnell, the special forces guy that's written a bunch of books, was running for Senate. I think we actually referred his book on. I know he was on Timcast a long time ago, and I bought all 3 of his books that were on Amazon because of his Timcast appearance, and I wanted to support him. He's a veteran and all that stuff, right? Never read his books, but I still have them though. But he started, like I said, he started attacking her military service. And then I'm like, that's weird, because for one, I held him in a high regard, right? And then he was on this weekend on Fox and Friends. They had some sort of event or something where people were in a diner or something in Pennsylvania, right? And they were talking to a political candidate. I think it's the other guy whose last name begins with an M. I don't remember who it is, but he's running there as well. So they got Dr. Oz, this dude that's last name begins with an M, and Kathy Barnett. They're the 3 front runners, and they're all within a couple of points of each other in the polling. Sean Parnell was in the background of this other candidate. And I'm like, and supporting him. And he even said, spoke and said he was supporting this candidate and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's really weird. So I already know that he's supporting another candidate publicly, right? He went to fundraising campaigns and all that stuff. And then he comes out and he starts attacking this woman's military service. She provides the records and he's like, well, those aren't DD-214s. No shit, they're not, because she's not going to get them. She was never active. She was in the reserves for 10 years. She still has military service, whether you like it or not. Whether it qualifies as your military service, it doesn't matter. It's still military service. And he did, and now, and rightfully so, a lot of people now are, especially on Twitter. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, by the way. If you don't follow me, you should. Steve Oatley. But I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I noticed a really good trend this morning where conservatives for example, I don't identify myself as a MAGA guy. If Donald Trump ran for office right now, fuck yeah, I would vote for him. But I don't consider myself a MAGA guy. I'm not a diehard make America great guy. No, I'm a rational American. I will work with whoever we need to make sure this country is successful. Donald Trump just happened to be a good president. He ran this country like a company, and ruthless, brash, and productive. And unfortunately, a lot of people just couldn't get by his brashness. Which it's sad. But yeah, it's just weird. I think we all just got to be careful, and that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about it. And I'm glad we have so many people watching during a daytime show. We only have 500 people, but that's a lot more than we even had at night because we're shadow banned left and right. So I'm glad. Plus all the people that are on the Citizen Stringer platform. But yeah, it's crazy. In other news yesterday, massive wildfire. Actually, I don't even know if it was massive. It was 200 acres in Laguna Niguel yesterday. Tore up to, about 20 mansions, multi-million-dollar mansions. This thing started around 2:45, and by 6 o'clock, it already covered 200 acres, and the pictures just started coming out. I was going to make a video. I actually did record one. I wasn't feeling it. And we don't have an article out on it yet, but just check that out. I know Fox News, I think the New York Post actually has a lot of photos of some of the fire damage, which is pretty insane. It's pretty insane. Another story that's interesting, back to the political sphere. A married Florida Democrat is accused of sexually harassing a man, and he apologized for his behavior. Florida Rep. Ramon Alexander, an outspoken critic of the Stop the Woke Act that helped to end CRT in public schools and a participant in protests against so-called Don't Say Gay law in Florida, is facing the serious accusations of groping and sexually harassing a man who once worked for a Florida A&M University. Former A&M University athletic official Michael Johnson Jr. filed complaints in February alleging Alexander sent explicit photos and videos of himself, according to the Tallahassee Democrat. And that's a newspaper, the Tallahassee Democrat. Democrat Florida Representative Ramon Alexander was accused of sexually harassing Michael Johnson Jr., including the complaints were allegations that Alexander sexually harassed and intimidated him over personal issues involving a family member of the representative. Johnson filed his complaint with the Florida Commission on Human Relations in February after he was fired from the university. Alexander represents Tallahassee, Florida's capital city, and home to FAMU, which is the college. According to Johnson, Alexander threatened his job over the treatment of Alexander's brother-in-law, track coach Sky Dawson. While Alexander is not affiliated with the university, Johnson said Alexander threatened to use political relationships to have him terminated from the university. Alexander, 37, and a married father of 2, refused to answer any questions about the allegations. Instead, he responded to an inquiry from the Tallahassee Democrat with a statement on Monday afternoon apologizing for his actions. However, he did not admit to sexual harassment charges, nor did he comment on what could be an abuse of power, if true. Instead, he admitted to an adult consensual relationship with Johnson. Keep in mind, this guy's married. So he admitted to an adult consensual relationship with another man while he's married, saying he's willing to acknowledge that I had a consensual adult relationship with Mr. Johnson, but at no point was I ever his employer, an employee of FAMU, or involved in FAMU personnel decisions. The greater public may have been in dark about these accusations until recently. Alexander made clear that he and his wife have been aware of the accusations for months, saying, "My family and I have been working through this for many months, and I'm sincerely sorry for my actions." And then he said he will not make any further comments. In an interview with the Tallahassee Democrat, Johnson disagreed with Alexander's characterization and said the two had never had a physical relationship. To prove his point, Johnson provided the Tallahassee Democrat access to a half dozen sexually explicit texts and photos in a video clip allegedly of Alexander in the midst of a moo. Including the materials of proposition to have sex on Alexander's desk at the Capitol. So that's probably one Democrat that's not going to have a job, for a while, and probably not a marriage either. Scumbag. But and we the reason why we reported it is because nobody really reports these things anymore. This story nobody picked up. And the reason I caught wind of it and then had April write the article is a local journalist in Florida was like, "How come nobody's covering this?" And I was like, okay, we will. So anyway, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. But as anyone knows, if you didn't watch yesterday's show, you probably don't know. The Roe versus Wade draft opinion was leaked by a scumbag, insurrectionist. And now insurrectionists have been protesting outside of Supreme Court justices' homes. You may be saying, why are you calling them insurrectionists? That's a stretch. Actually, it's not. What they're doing is a violation of a federal law that says that people are not allowed to protest in an attempt to influence Supreme Court justices or federal judges or juries or anything like that. It's actually a law. And that's clearly what they're doing. They're also protesting outside of these justices' homes. It happened at Kavanaugh's and Comey Barrett's home yesterday, and Alito's the day before. They're protesting outside of these homes in an effort to get these justices to change their positions on Roe versus Wade. Hence, why we're calling it an insurrection. Because if you don't recall, January 6th, everybody calls it an insurrection, saying that protesters that were outside of the Capitol, not even the rioters, because there were rioters there that day, let's be honest, not the rioters, just people that were peacefully protesting, they are still labeled as insurrectionists, were doxxed publicly, had their jobs, lost their jobs, lost families, all that stuff because of their choice to be in D.C. on January 6, 2012 in an effort to, quote unquote, from the left, influence the electorate count. Now, you could say, well, and here's my rationale behind this. If you want to say that was an insurrection, you have to 100% have to say that what's going on at these justices' homes are insurrections. And the reason for that is, well, because one person is breaking the law and the other one isn't. The people that were protesting peacefully on January 6th did not break any laws at all. The ones that were peaceful, the ones that are protesting outside of these Supreme Court justices' homes, they're breaking the law every single time they do it. For some reason, they're not going after them, and I'm not quite sure why. It's probably because the federal government isn't going to press any charges. In fact, the White House said on Monday or Tuesday, that Jen Psaki said the official position of the White House is that they will continue, quote, continue to encourage, end quote, protests outside of Supreme Court justices' homes as long as they remain peaceful, which was basically sanctioning these protests outside of these people's homes, which is there's no other descriptor for it other than utterly disgusting. So it is crazy, and it's going to lead to an escalation of violence. If you haven't paid attention, the protests typically lead to violence, especially if the left are the ones protesting. We saw it in all of 2022. Not every protest was violent, but I think we had 157 nights of continued violence throughout the United States. So mainstream media chose not to cover most of it. Many of you guys may know that's may be how you know me, is we covered it all, and we'll continue to do it as this goes. Now, people will end up getting killed, and I have no doubt in my mind people will end up getting killed as a result of the radicalization of these leftist groups that are going out chanting for the right to kill a human life. Whether or not you agree with that, frankly, I don't care. This is my show. If it's got a heartbeat, it's a child, and you are a murderer if you kill that baby. That's my belief. And I'll be honest, I gotta thank the leaker. Right? Because the more I talk about it and the more I think about it, the more cut and dry it becomes to me. And people, you could watch a video from 4 days ago where I was talking about it, and I was like, flip flopping. No. I'm every single day I wake up and I'm like, I'm more aligned with common sense. You know what I mean? In terms of when it's a life. Anyway, but I think people are being radicalized, and violence will happen, just as it did in Wisconsin. Madison, Wisconsin, this group calling themselves Jane's Revenge has reportedly claimed credit for the weekend firebombing attack at an office of an anti-abortion organization in Madison, Wisconsin. In a series of tweets, Robert Evans, a writer for Bellingcat, he's also like a notorious Antifa scumbag. He covered all the protests in Portland, Oregon, and all that stuff. He's a writer for Bellingcat, which is based in the Netherlands, reported receiving a statement from a group called Jane's Revenge. Actually, is Robert Evans the Antifa one? I don't remember. I think he is. He reported receiving a statement from a group called Jane's Revenge, in which the organization took credit for the suspected arson. Jane's Revenge is a reference to the Jane Collective, which is a Chicago-based NPR affiliate. WBEZ recently described as a group of activists in Chicago who helped provide abortion access to thousands of women who did not have legal access in the years leading up to Roe v. Wade verdict in 1973. Jane's Revenge went on to threaten increasingly violent attacks that extend beyond Wisconsin Capitol, saying if its demands are not met, Wisconsin will be the first flashpoint, but we are all over the U.S. and we will issue no further warnings. Information that Evans has shared has not been verified, but he insists that the statement came through an anonymous intermediary I trust, and provided a link to the site where it was hosted. Meanwhile, Madison police confirmed they are aware of a group claiming responsibility for the arson at the Wisconsin Family Action. They're working with federal partners to determine the veracity of that claim. On Monday, Barnes was joined by Madison Fire Department Assistant Chief Stedman, as well as agents. April, look at this article, please. Assistant Chief, I read that wrong. Never mind. Assistant Chief Che Stedman, as well as agents with the FBI and ATF in a press conference to provide updates on the attack that occurred on Sunday. Police Chief Sean Barnes said there is no room for hate or violence in Madison. Hate and violence do not advance any cause. So emergency dispatchers received a call from a passerby who saw a fire coming from an office building. Madison firefighters were called to the building around 6 a.m. and were quickly able to put out the blaze. No injuries were reported. A passerby first reported seeing flames in the WFA building in the 2800 block of Industrial Lane around 6 a.m. When the Madison Police Department and Fire Department arrived, they noted a ground level window had been broken. Firefighters were able to extinguish the fire within 5 minutes. 2 Molotov cocktails were found at the scene that did not ignite, and investigators are working to determine what type of liquid was used in the devices. An image from the local news shows graffiti written on the wall of the office saying, "If abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either." People have to be careful. I mean, these people they're crazy, and you have to understand that they're crazy because they want to kill babies. Does that make sense? So it's not a far cry to understand that they're crazy because of, well, they literally want to kill little babies. So I just don't understand how people are so stupid. And that's it. I just don't understand. People are so dumb. There was also a Houston, I believe it was a Houston police officer yesterday that was killed in a traffic accident with a semi truck, and another officer that was escorting him from the hospital after that officer was getting his police escort from the hospital. Another motorcycle officer was injured, not severely, in an accident. And I think I heard, don't quote me on this, but I think I heard that there was a police officer shot at in New York City yesterday. I'm not quite sure. Another news story, too. Remember when the White House balked about reporting that the administration was paying to hand out free crack pipes and methamphetamine pipes and safe smoking kits? Remember the White House was like, no, we're not giving out crack pipes. They said that it did not contain crack pipes, and the reporting was a viral claim full of misinformation. Well, guess what? They lied to you. The Washington Free Beacon found some misinformation that you should address. Maybe Nina Jankowicz could write a song about crack pipes and share it on TikTok. Patrick Hoff, a journalist with the Washington Free Beacon, visited 5 harm reduction associations and over 24 more. And called over 24 more. And what he found was pipes, and more pipes, in addition to startling other paraphernalia that allows the user to snort and even use methamphetamines orally. Anally. In fact, every organization we visited, facilities in Boston, New York City, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Richmond, Virginia, included crack pipes in the kits, the Free Beacon reported. When the administration announced the $30 million harm reduction program, they stated that the funds would be used to include the distribution of safe smoking kits to vulnerable communities. The kits would be given out to drug addicts and underserved communities for the purposes of advancing racial equity. In February, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki insisted that such kits provided drug users a safer experience and did not include free smoking paraphernalia, saying they were never part of the kit. It was inaccurate reporting. A safe smoking kit may contain alcohol swabs, lip balm, other materials to promote hygiene and reduce transmission of diseases, end quote, but it doesn't, according to her, include crack pipes. While the contents of safe smoking kits vary from one organization to the other, and while those from some organizations may not contain crack pipes, all of the organizations they visited, the Washington Beacon visited, made crack pipes as well as paraphernalia for the use of heroin, cocaine, and crystal meth readily available without requiring or offering rehabilitation services, suggesting that pipes are included in many, if not most, of the kits distributed across the country. All of the centers they visited are run by health-focused nonprofits and government agencies, the types of groups eligible to receive funding starting this month from the Biden administration's $30 million slush fund, i.e. grant program. In Baltimore, a nonprofit organization that provides harm reduction services apparently provides crack pipes, and an employee told the outlet that the identification is not even required to get said crack pipe. Unbelievable. The kits, Hoff reported, contain a variety of items, including glass crack pipes as well as Chore Boy copper mesh, a cleaning product used to hold crack rock at the end of the pipe. More importantly, the organization provides all drug paraphernalia recipients with an authorized harm reduction program participant card that serves as a get-out-of-jail-free card to show law enforcement because the paraphernalia is otherwise illegal in the state of Maryland. Oh my God, really? They're giving out a card, like an ID card, saying, hey, I'm legally able to possess this crack and you can't do shit about it. And we wonder why cops don't want to do the job anymore. They're not allowed to. It's unbelievable. In Boston, they limited crack pipes to 1 day, saying 1 pipe, 1 person, 1 day, once a day. In New York City's Lower East Side Harm Reduction Center, the choices were extensive, and they offer an a la carte long menu of drug paraphernalia that is available to users free of charge. After providing initials, date of birth, and a zip code, the free beacon was given 2 drug pipes, one for crack and one for meth, as well as an authorized program card similar to what was given in Baltimore. The safe smoking kits include literature with safe smoking tips, including a warning that crack and meth use can lead to unprotected sex by increasing your sex drive or making you more sexually passive. And other tips advise addicts to obtain crack from a source you trust and to only smoke a little bit at first if unsure about purity, Hoff reported. Included in the menu was a booty bump kit for rectal ingestion of narcotics, which is recommended by many harm reduction centers as a safer method to use meth. Hoff added that the Alliance for Positive Change, which oversees the Harm Reduction Center, received at least $20 million from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services since 2004. That's what our taxpayer dollars are literally going to fund crack pipes for people. This is unbelievable. Harm Reduction Center in Washington, D.C. also reportedly hands out a variety of pipes and mouthpieces without even asking for any ID. Hoff stated that the Harm Reduction Center is about a mile from the U.S. Capitol and within blocks of 2 elementary schools. They also had pipes and crack and for crack and meth, as well as choroboid mesh, copper screens, and the same mouthpieces offered in Baltimore. In Virginia, employees at the River City Harm Reduction Association were found at a table set up outside a hotel on the outskirts of Richmond. Hoff asked for 2 crack smoking kits, but was told only 1 remained in the day's offerings. To make up for the shortcoming, the employee added a meth pipe along with 2 snorting kits, which include straws, a plastic razor blade to break up drugs, short plastic straws, a small spoon, and a bedazzled playing card to snort drugs off of. Fuck this shit. The organization is not an authorized harm reduction site recognized by the Virginia Department of Health possession of the Virginia Department of Health, so they're not a legal drug place. Possession of drug paraphernalia in Virginia is a Class 1 misdemeanor. Conviction of possessing said drug paraphernalia can result in 12 months in jail and a fine of up to $2,500. All of the safe harm distribution centers refused to comment on the Free Beacon's article. The Beacon stated that none of the organizations responded to inquiries about whether they applied for government grants. It's not clear which organizations will receive those grants, nor has the administration said how it will ensure the kits will not contain crack pipes, because they do. The Department of Health and Human Services, which will oversee the Biden grant program, declined to provide a list of groups that have applied for funding, citing confidentiality, which is weird. It's federal taxpayer dollars. Why is it confidential? The Biden administration is set to announce grant recipients on May 15th. So very, very interesting stuff there. You know, now you know where you can go get crack pipes if you're a dopehead. Last week's 3,424 individuals crossed the border illegally in the Del Rio and Rio Grande Valley sectors in Texas, and a massive amount of human smuggling continues. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol categorizes groups of 100 or more as large groups, and these 2 sectors are hotspots for them. From October 2021 through March 2022, agents in the Del Rio sector encountered 195,289 illegal aliens. As bad as that sounds, the Rio Grande Valley is getting hit even harder. They have recorded 245,390 encounters in the first 6 months of fiscal year 2022. Part of that is due to more than 50 large groups accounting for more than 9,000 apprehensions. The logistics required to transport and process groups of this size continue to place a strain on manpower and resources as they are often encountered in desolate areas, often inaccessible for large transport vehicles, Customs and Border Patrol said. And then I'm not going to run through this whole list right now because I'm going to hit the gym before I got to go pick up my kids, but I'm going to run through some of it. In Arizona, the Yuma sector, on May 8th, an agent assigned to the Yuma station safely stopped a Cadillac sedan that was left in drive with the smuggled migrants inside after the smuggler bailed. Just before midnight, agents on board a National Guard HU-72 Lakota helicopter spotted several individuals in the sedan and monitored the vehicle as it traveled north into the foothills community. As agents attempted to stop the vehicle, the driver jumped out while it was still moving and ran into a residential area. An agent used his government vehicle to safely bring the driverless vehicle to a stop where 6 illegals were discovered inside. The driver, a 27-year-old U.S. citizen from Yuma, was found a short time later. He's arrested and facing smuggling charges. In Big Bend sector on May 3rd, a small group of illegal aliens was apprehended after agents performing a sign cutting duties tracked them south of Maria. A sign is a physical evidence of disturbance in the environment left behind by animals, humans, or objects such as footprints, clothing fibers, changes in vegetation. The detection of these signs is called sign cutting. Agents, with the assistance of air support from Air and Marine Operations, the Department of Public Safety, Air Unit, and Mobile Surveillance Technology, apprehended a group of over 20 illegals south of Van Horn. Crazy stuff. At approximately 11:30 a.m., a group of 124 illegals were encountered. It consisted of individuals from 6 different countries, including 67 Cubans, 6 Peruvians, 15 Colombians, 32 Venezuelans, 2 Syrians, and 2 Nicaraguans. A more detailed breakdown showed 59 adult males, 22 single adult females, and 14 family units comprised of 22 adults and 20 children. There was also 1 accompanied minor from Cuba. At approximately 11:15 a.m. on May 1st, 115 illegal aliens were apprehended. The group consisted of 77 Cubans, 15 Venezuelans, 20 Colombians, and 1 Syrian national, and 2 from Peru. Oh my gosh. 60 adult males, 25 adult females, and 30 family unit individuals. And then it just goes on. I encourage you guys to read this stuff, to read this article that we have on citizenstringer.com. You can look up Disorder on the Border, and you'll find our latest article there. And this is by Lauren Jessup. She works hard on these. So make sure you go to Citizen Stringer, look up Disorder on the Border. She writes these reports a couple of times a week. We have to now. It used to be 1 report a week. I used to call it, I don't know, like border wars, border chaos. I don't remember. And then Lauren started doing it because I stopped. I got too busy. So she started doing it, and she does a better job than I did because I couldn't hide my disgust in the way that the White House chooses not to deal with it. So it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. Anyway, so that's pretty much it, man. I appreciate all of you guys. Someone said, "Good luck, Steve. I'm leaving because my language is saltier than John Kerry's ketchup. Go Army, beat Navy always." I don't know where you're going. You going to work or something? Because I have no idea what you're referencing there. I don't even think I swore that much during this conversation. I think I did pretty good. I toned it down for the day show, right? There's not going to be a show tonight because, like I said, my wife has parent-teacher conferences with her students and their parents. So I'm going to be like mowing the lawn and hanging out with my kids and stuff, which is good. You know, every now and then I got to like see my family. So that's what I'm going to be doing. At 8:30 p.m., the little video that I made of Sean Hannity is going to be released on YouTube, and then there'll be an article that's scheduled to go out, very short article with that video as well. So you'll be able to see it then. YouTube is not monetizing my video. So if you're watching this video later on YouTube, do you know what you can do during the show? You can do the thanks thing. So if you don't want to send super chats, or you can't because you're watching it on replay, you can actually send their super chat thing there, which is pretty cool. Nobody really does. I don't know if we've ever gotten one, but it's cool. And if you want to, you can. And someone said, how many shootings happening in the U.S.? A shit ton. We'll talk about that probably on Monday when we do our mass shooting report for the week. We didn't do it this week. I think there were 6 mass shootings over the weekend. It was a slower day, but I was busy with redesigning the website. Also, real quick, too, I didn't send out the notification. Today is the last day to get switched over. If you were a founding member on citizenstringer.tv, switch over to citizenstringer.com. We will be shutting down Citizen Stringer TV, and all memberships will be canceled tomorrow. So make sure you've switched over to the new site. I know it's going to be a headache. April has been a rock star at dealing with it and trying to get it fixed for any of you. If you want to get push notifications when we're live and you don't want to be a member, that's fine. Go to citizenstringer.com. You'll see on the left-hand side, you'll see a little bell. It'll say like get push notifications. Do that on both your computer and your mobile device, and then you get push notifications on each one. We've been sending them out every day when we go live. Starting on Monday, I've got some news. My shows will not be aired live anywhere other than Citizen Stringer. And then they will be uploaded in either a whole show or a segment to all social media platforms after. I will do one live show a week, probably on Friday. That'll be a little bit later, most likely a call-in show and stuff. That'll be on from like 8 to 10. I'll run a little bit later on Fridays. But the reason I'm doing that is we're not getting social media distribution now. And I want to create a better show. And I think I can do it better if I have a smaller audience to deal with. And then by putting the show together as segments, it'll actually, knock on wood, we'll be able to break the algorithms on YouTube, so we actually get distribution and monetization. Like even the video that I uploaded about Sean Hannity, they denied monetization for it. The video yesterday on the border crisis that we uploaded either last night or this morning, denied monetization for it. And I appealed it and lost the appeal. They don't, and I really think I think it's a targeted attack to try to get us not to do it. But unfortunately for them, we're not going anywhere. We have enough members to keep us in existence for a long time. And if you want to support independent journalism, I encourage you guys to go to citizenstringer.com and become a member on that page. Make sure you guys get your memberships switched over. Tomorrow I'll be shutting down citizenstringer.tv. Just so everyone understands, all of our mobile apps, the Roku app and everything will all shut down for a little bit. I'm rebuilding the Roku app. That one's not that hard. The one that's hard is the mobile apps. I'm redoing those all myself. It'll be about a month before those are up and ready to go. 24/7 programming resumes on Monday as well. So, and you can watch for free 24/7. You don't need a membership to watch. You only need a membership to be able to live chat with us. So you can just go bookmark citizenstringer.com. You'll see where it says live stream. There's a live stream of this now. Actually, after this show, nothing's going to be live until 6 o'clock when Santilli comes on. And then it shuts off for the night. But starting on Monday, on the 15th, I think that's Monday, as soon as I get it set up. So tentatively Monday, 24-hour program will come back. You'll be able to know exactly what time a show is coming on, including the replays, because it's all a scheduler software, so it keeps it all in play. And But I will be live tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'll probably do a 2-hour show. It'll be on social media as well. First part will be news. Second part will be a call-in show. So that's what we're going to do. I appreciate everyone for being here and chilling with us, and we'll see you later.